After giving birth to twins, I was staying at my friend Michelle's house when I received a phone call from my husband, Liam. He was asking when I planned to return home. Noticing that something was off, I decided to return home. To my surprise, a large sum of money had been withdrawn from our joint bank account without my consent. To add to that, Liam, who was supposed to be at work, was at home. I could hear voices coming from his study. "Boss, is this okay? Bringing me here when your wife isn't home?" "It's fine. She won't be back for another month. Sorry about the mess." "It's fine, I'll do it. It's terrible that you're a housewife and not doing any chores." "Yeah, and she left the house to be with another man. I want to get a divorce as soon as possible." After a while, I heard some indelicate sounds coming from Selena, so I hit the record button on my cell phone. After recording for a few minutes, I quietly left the house. As I walked down the dark street, rage boiled up from the pit of my stomach. I gritted my teeth and murmured to myself, "I'm here desperately trying to raise newborn twins, and he's inviting a subordinate into our house and having an affair? I will never forgive him. You better be prepared. My name is Julia. I'm a 33-year-old housewife. I met my husband Liam 4 years ago. I was invited to a drinking party to fill the numbers, and since I don't like alcohol, I was sipping in a corner when Liam, who was organizing the event, took care of me throughout the party, even when ordering food. On the way home, I was surprised when Liam told me, "I'd like to meet you again, just the two of us." After several meetings, we began dating and got married the following year. We started a happy married life. However, it seemed that his mother, Marjorie, didn't like me. I don't remember ever being spoken to or smiled at by Marjorie, not when we first met before our marriage or when we returned home for holidays. As I am also quite shy, when Marjorie and I are alone together, our conversation doesn't flow well and an uncomfortable atmosphere always ensues. "Hello, I've been to the cemetery earlier." "Oh, have you? It's quite hot today. Tomorrow's supposed to be 4 degrees hotter." "Well, it's summer. It's always like this." 2 years passed without closing the gap between Marjorie and myself, when I had a few days of feeling unwell and decided to visit an obstetrician gynecologist. There, I was informed of my pregnancy. To my surprise, I was told that I could hear 2 heartbeats. "Wait, twins?" "They're fraternal." "Congratulations." I was over the moon. However, I was the only one excited. It was from this point on that Liam's behavior began to change drastically. I always wanted twins. I was engrossed in comics, movies, and novels where twins played a major role, and whenever I saw them on the streets, I would naturally find myself watching them. And now I was about to become a mother of twins. It was a dream come true and I was so excited. But as I researched more on the internet, I was overcome by a great sense of anxiety. From my friends' stories, it seemed quite challenging to bear and raise 1 child, let alone 2 for the first time. Could I really bring up the kids properly? On top of that, the physical burden is said to be doubled, and the risk of falling ill seems to be high. As I was pondering, I suddenly realized I wouldn't be raising them alone, Liam would be there too. Liam would probably be wide-eyed, saying, "Twins!" He's been saying he wants kids soon, so he'll probably be delighted. Excitedly waiting for Liam to come home, who recently had a sudden increase in overtime and working on weekends. "I'm home. You haven't gone to bed yet? Welcome home. You see, I'm thinking about quitting my job soon." Why's that?" "Because we're having a baby." Turning around, Liam's eyes bulged for a moment. But he quickly put on a forced smile. "So, you finally got pregnant?" "It's twins." As I announced with my heart pounding, Liam's reaction was unexpected. After opening his eyes wide, he grimaced unpleasantly and spat out, "Are you serious? That's gonna cost twice as much. Give me a break." Stunned, I am then asked by Liam, "So, boy? Or girl?" "It seems we won't know that until they get a bit bigger." "I'd prefer a boy. Girls cost more with things like prom." Please, let it be a boy. We don't need a girl. He said this to my belly, which had not even started to swell yet, and then went off to take a shower. I was flabbergasted. What was that comment just now? It's hard to believe these were the words of the man who said, "I can't wait to have a baby. A honeymoon baby would be great." However, before I had time to be down, I was plunged into days of suffering from morning sickness. The dizziness and nausea were worse than expected, and every day was a rush to the bathroom at the smell of oil or rice. It was fatal for me who was working at a restaurant, and I eventually had to quit. Although I could hardly eat myself, I prepared meals and packed lunches for Liam as usual, considering his health. However, Liam didn't show any signs of concern for my condition. On the contrary, he started complaining. "The number of items in the lunchbox seems a bit less than usual, huh? Sorry, the smell of cooking makes me feel sick." You're not just using morning sickness as an excuse to skimp, are you? And when I returned home and was lying down with a pale face, he always made a sarcastic remark. "You're lucky, you can lounge around all day and still eat thanks to me. I feel bad when I stand up. But I'm still doing the laundry and preparing the meals. That's a housewife's duty, it's only natural. You're being too soft on yourself, it's not like you're sick." Also, he didn't seem to like the idea of going to the clinic every 2 weeks. There's a risk 10 times higher than a normal pregnancy, which seems to make complications more likely. Yeah, so basically you're saying it's gonna cost us a lot of money. All the money I've sweated to earn is gonna be taken by you and our twins, huh? I was honestly surprised by his reaction, I hadn't expected it. Being bad at handling finances, when we decided to get married, I confessed this to Liam and asked him to manage everything from our savings to daily expenses. Liam works for a large corporation, and his earnings are above the average American annual income. So, even after setting aside savings, living expenses, and my allowance, he should still have plenty of spending money for himself. That's why I didn't understand why he would say such harsh things. Over time, I began to feel guilty about being pregnant. When I finally reached the stable period of my pregnancy, I told Marjorie, my father at home, and my sister-in-law Michelle about my pregnancy. As expected, Marjorie's reaction was lukewarm. "Let me know when you've decided on the due date." Okay. Well, it's more relaxing to get a straightforward reaction than being commanded to give birth to a male heir or something. In contrast, Michelle had the exact opposite reaction over the phone. "Congratulations! Twins! No way! That's so amazing that we're gonna have twins in our family. I'll support you as much as I can, so don't hesitate to ask for help." Her warm reaction, the first since my pregnancy, made me tear up. "Julia, are you crying?" "I'm fine. Please give me advice again." I actually wanted to vent to Michelle about Liam's cold attitude right away, but I thought it might make the already bad relationship between the siblings even worse, so I decided to put up with it a little longer. But Liam's verbal abuse towards me was only getting worse. Lately, he would look at my growing belly with disgust and sigh. "Julia, you're getting too fat. Other pregnant women aren't showing this much." "Well, I have 2 babies inside me, so this much is normal. I've only gained about 22 pounds, and the doctor has told me to refrain from exercise because it can lead to premature labor. But you know, it's disgusting to see you so thin, but your belly is the only thing that's grown." I couldn't believe my ears. "You've changed so much that you've lost all your femininity." He chuckled snidely and threw his shirt at me. "Press this once you've washed it." "I can't because of my big belly." "Put it in the laundry basket." "You're really useless." Fine, I'll put it in the basket," he said, looking annoyed, picked up his socks and went to the bathroom. I let out a deep sigh. I was really fed up with Liam's recent behavior. But I can't rely on my family either. After my mother passed away due to illness, my father remarried the following year and has kids, so there's no place for me. Thinking about life after the twins are born makes my chest feel like it's going to be crushed with anxiety, but I have no one else to rely on. So I had no choice but to endure. When I went for a checkup the following week, the doctor told me to be admitted to the hospital early. Considering the risk of premature birth, they suggested a C-section as soon as I entered the 9th month.
You're not planning on going back to your parents' home for childbirth, are you?
No, I'm not. My parents' house is in the neighboring city, but I never intended to live with them since I don't get along well with my stepmother and brother. Moreover, I'd probably worry myself sick if I had to spend my time in my in-laws' house with my mother-in-law. That's when Michelle suggested,
"Then why don't you stay with me? As you know, Julia, my husband is currently posted overseas, and my high school-age sons live in a dormitory. I work from home and have a flexible schedule, so I can help you out with a lot."
"Really? Thank you so much." When I reported to Liam that evening, he made a very displeased face. "What, are you going into the hospital already? Who's going to take care of me while you're gone? Are you going to buy ready-made meals or cook for yourself? This is going to cost me extra money." However, the following evening, he came home in a surprisingly good mood. Touching my belly, which he had hardly ever paid attention to before, he gave me a broad grin.
"Hey, I'm working for you guys, so make sure to be born safely. Here, this is your sister's favorite local wine. Give it to her as a gift."
"Will you come to visit after the baby is born?" "I will, once I finish my work." But he didn't keep his word. "Liam, the baby is born safely. It's a healthy girl." He didn't respond to the message I sent, and it seemed he even ignored Michelle's phone calls. Marjorie, who's usually aloof, rushed to the hospital and had tears in her eyes at the sight of the twins in their incubators. Every time I saw other husbands happily holding their babies, my heart ached. I wondered if Liam wasn't happy about the birth of his child. Fortunately, the twins were very healthy, and we were able to be discharged on the 8th day. The day after discharge. While I was busy nursing and changing diapers, I received a phone call from Liam.
"Hey, when are you coming back?"
I was so disappointed that his first words were this, considering he had been ignoring all my calls. But I held back my complaints and simply stated, "I will be staying with Michelle for about another month."
"You can't even take care of your husband. Let me know when you're coming back."
When the call ended, Michelle, who had been listening on speakerphone, frowned.
"What's his problem, acting so high and mighty?"
"He's always like this. He shows no interest in the baby and keeps talking about how it's going to cost money, despite them being so adorable." As Michelle cast a loving glance at the twins sleeping soundly in the back bed, she frowned. "He started talking about money all the time when we found out we were having a baby. In fact, he seemed disgruntled at first about me staying here, but then he came home in a good mood the next day." Michelle suggested to me, who was lost in thought, with a stern look. "Something seems fishy, Julia. You might want to check his bank account and his room." Following Michelle's advice, I returned home while the twins were sleeping. It was daytime, so Liam was at work. When I opened the app of the bank account, I found, just as Michelle had suspected, more than $10,000 that was supposed to be savings for the child had been withdrawn. As I stood there dumbfounded, I heard a young woman's voice from the other side of the wall.
"Boss, is this okay? You're sneaking me in while your wife isn't around."
I gasped. Was he really bringing another woman into his study while I was away? "It's fine, she won't be back for another month. Sorry, the house is a mess." The sweet tone that erupted from his usually harsh mouth sent chills down my spine.
"It's fine. I'll do it. It's terrible that you're a housewife and not doing any chores."
"She's just a homewrecker. I wish I could get a divorce already." The intimacy of the conversation was clear. After a brief pause, I heard Selena's unashamed voice, so I took out my cell phone and hit the record button. After recording for a few minutes, I quietly left the house. As I walked down the sidewalk, the initial shock subsided and a boiling anger rose from the pit of my stomach. I clenched my teeth and murmured to myself, "I'm here desperately raising newborn twins, and he's inviting his subordinate to our home for an affair? Screw this, I will never forgive him." Be prepared. When I asked Michelle to go shopping in the afternoon and took a nap with the twins, the doorbell rang. When I checked through the intercom, Liam looked irritated. Rubbing my eyes, I went to answer and Liam started shouting at me.
Stop sleeping and come back to do the housework. If you refuse, we're getting a divorce.
I've already hired the divorce lawyer, though. What? As I presented the business card of my lawyer I brought from the dining room to Liam, his face twitched. I'd be at a disadvantage without an agreement on child support and asset division.
Idiot, there's no way we're really getting a divorce. There's no way you, a jobless woman with twins, can survive without me. I'll let your words slide this time, so get ready to go back.
The twins woke up at Liam's loud voice and started fussing. As I returned to the living room and picked up one, they stopped crying, but the other one continued, so they both started crying in the end. Liam, their father, should soothe them, but he was glaring at the baby bed with an annoyed expression.
Stop the crying, it's too noisy.
Unfortunately, I only have 2 arms. By the way, Liam, don't you want a divorce? You could flirt as much as you want if you divorce. Liam went pale at once.
How do you know about that? She was just consulting me about work, there's nothing suspicious.
Is that so? I smiled thinly and Liam, looking panicked, asked me. You're really Julia, right?
Why?
You're acting like your sister. Julia was obedient and always listened to me. She was a quiet woman. I snickered. Dad is not reliable at all. If I'm the only one who can protect these adorable children, then as their mother, I have no choice but to become strong. Liam suddenly shifted his gaze to the children, as if a thought had just occurred to him. By the way, what did we name these little ones again? I was stunned. Didn't he look at all the names I had sent him? I was profoundly disappointed. After putting the first child, who had stopped crying, to bed, and while rocking the still fussy second one, I laid into Liam.
I guess that's true. You wouldn't even bother looking when I showed you the written suggestions for names before they were born. You even ignored the names I sent you in a message yesterday. You were probably too busy cozying up with Selena. It's just work. I don't really care, just choose something and get the birth certificate sorted.
I exploded with anger at Liam's carefree attitude.
Don't you dare say the children's names don't matter. Hey, watch your mouth. I'm the one making money for you guys.
I stared straight back at the red-faced Liam. In the past, when he yelled at her like this, my body would stiffen and I would become timid. But I couldn't afford to back down now, not for the children. The only reason you can focus on your work is because I'm holding down the fort at home.
That's a woman's job.
Liam huffed pompously.
Just hurry up and get home. How long do you plan on shirking your housework duties?
I told you, I have some preparations to make and can't come home yet. Come back in a week. What a hassle, fine, got it. Liam stormed out, his footsteps loud and angry. A week later, I received a message from Liam. I asked Michelle to look after the twins and waited for Liam with my lawyer. When Liam arrived, he was taken aback at the sight of the lawyer.
Hey, who's this guy?
He's my attorney. I had to ask him over since I can't leave the twins alone for long. Sorry, Michelle, to interrupt your day off.
I'm more than happy to get all to myself with these adorable twins. You both take your time.
With a smile, Michelle headed upstairs where the twins were. While Liam was confused, I lined up the photographs handed to me by the private detective across the living room table. I played a recording of Selena's candid voice on my phone, which turned Liam pale. So, you were just consulting on work? Using the money meant for the children at a seaside resort and amusement parks? While I'm up all night breastfeeding and changing diapers, your life seems so lavish. I'm jealous. I said sarcastically, glaring at him with eyes marked by lack of sleep. Liam looked around, forcing a strange smile.
That's just what mothers do. You're crafty. Have you been preparing this for a week?
I'll divorce you, so please return the $12,000 you've squandered. Plus, I'll be taking child support as well.
That's too much.
Liam shouted as he stood up. He spewed out selfish reasons at a rapid-fire pace.
It's your fault for ignoring me while you were absorbed with the babies. Despite being a wife, you didn't take care of your husband, you slacked off on housework even before you were pregnant, stayed at your sister's house even after discharge. Isn't that your fault too?
The lawyer gave me a troubled shrug. I turned back to Liam and asked calmly, "Shall we take this to court then?"
Yeah, do whatever you want.
It will cost you more, is that all right? Huh? Speaking of which, can Julia afford it? At Liam's question, I smiled. I'll use my savings from when I was single. By the way, did you know? The investigation fee for the private detective has to be paid by you. After all, it's your infidelity and abusive behavior that are causing the divorce. Liam bulged his eyes. He leaned toward me, spit flying as he shouted,
When have I ever been abusive? Enough with the lies!
Do you want me to play the recording of your abusive language right here? That's when the lawyer cut in. Sorry to interrupt. The other party is a subordinate, right? If rumors of the divorce spread in the company, I suspect Liam might be demoted to a subsidiary. It would be best to keep as much money as possible. The color drained from Liam's face. For Liam, who was on the fast track to promotion, being shifted away from the main office would be a death blow. Suddenly looking panicked, Liam began to make excuses. Hey, forgive me. It was my first affair, and it only lasted a year. If you divorce with twins, you're bound to struggle. I'm prepared for the struggle. At my curt reply, Liam gave a forced smile. So there's no divorce then, it's hard on the kids. He tried the sympathy card next, but I remained silent with my lips pressed together.
Please, Julia. I've worked my way up the ladder. It's just not fair to lose everything over one affair.
You reap what you sow, don't you?
So, if you forgive me, it'll be okay. Please, don't go for a divorce. Consider it as a favor to me.
At that moment, the door burst open. To our surprise, it was Marjorie, standing like a warrior. The usually stoic woman was blushing and trembling. Liam rushed over to Marjorie and started complaining.
Mom, you have to convince Julia. She's been crying, saying she wants a divorce because I had an affair while she was pregnant. She's been neglecting me, being so engrossed with the baby, she bears some responsibility too. Shut up, you fool!
Marjorie shouted before Liam could finish speaking. Her voice was unusually loud, shocking both Liam and me. Marjorie continued to berate Liam, veins popping on her forehead.
From what I've heard, you only care about yourself. Don't you feel any responsibility as a father? When Michelle told me you hadn't visited the hospital, I wondered if you were really that busy. But to have an affair with a subordinate... I'm speechless.
Marjorie further rebuked Liam with a stern tone.
Your wife is carrying 2 lives. Do you think she has time to cater to your needs? Can't you take care of yourself at your age, Liam? If you want to play around so much, just be single and have all the fun. It wouldn't make a difference whether a father like you is there or not in the future.
Liam, with tears in his eyes, kneeled down on the wooden floor in defeat. Marjorie approached me and lowered her voice. Julia, I apologize for Liam's behavior. I knew you might feel uncomfortable talking to me directly about the twins, so I asked Liam about it since you were pregnant. But he never replied. So I had no choice but to ask Michelle about the due date, how the babies were growing, everything. I was taken aback by Marjorie's honesty. My mother suggested that you should stay at our place after you are discharged from the hospital, thinking that you might feel uncomfortable at your husband's house. Marjorie. Tears filled my eyes and I looked at Marjorie with gratitude. Both Mom and Julia aren't good at expressing themselves, are they? You talk too much, Michelle. Michelle spoke to me with a kinder tone than usual. Julia, you should divorce Liam quickly. Me and Michelle are here to support you. You will feel relieved without such a useless person.
Both Mom and Sis have been really harsh.
Because it's the truth. After being scolded by both, Liam obediently agreed to my demands regarding child support. As my lawyer predicted, Liam's divorce became the talk of the office. When Selena, who had learned about the birth of the twins, found out that she had been played during my pregnancy, she exposed her relationship with Liam out of spite. The rumors reached the ears of the boss in no time, and Liam was transferred to a branch office for disturbing the office's discipline. Despite Liam being a high earner, he squandered all his savings doting on Selena. As a result, we had to sell the condo we lived in and moved to a rundown apartment. The rumors about Liam having an affair with a young subordinate while his wife was pregnant spread in the branch office as well, making it unbearable for him. He ended up resigning shortly thereafter. Now, he's working from early morning till late night at several part-time jobs to make ends meet and pay child support, being reprimanded by a manager who is younger than him. I handed over the apartment to Liam in exchange for half the price, and moved to my in-laws' house. Until the twins grow up, I figured we could rely on the support of Marjorie, who has plenty of time thanks to her pension. Of course, I'd have to work too. When I explained the situation to my former workplace, they asked me to return, and so it was decided. I found an opening at a daycare center near work, and so I leave the twins there while I work full-time during the weekdays. Whenever the twins get a fever and I can't take off work, or when I need to go shopping, I ask Marjorie to babysit. You don't have to hesitate at all. I'm actually really grateful that you let me see my grandchildren even though I'm divorced. Marjorie has always been a woman of few words and not very affectionate, but she shows a beaming smile when she's with the twins, which makes me feel closer to her. Michelle, who comes over on her days off, might be a big part of why that is.
Mom, how about you show us a fake smile once in a while?
Is that so? Marjorie smirks, and Michelle freezes. Scary. You look like a criminal.
Did you say something? You're just fine the way you are, Mom.
I couldn't help but chuckle at that exchange. I used to think Marjorie hated me, which made it painful to be around her. But that was a huge misunderstanding. Thanks to Liam, who didn't care about the children being gone, the unnecessary stress disappeared, and I could enjoy my days. If one day the children want to meet their father, I'm considering arranging a meeting with Liam. Even without a father, as long as the twins receive plenty of love from their mother, aunt, and grandmother, they'll grow up healthily. Watching my children shower Marjorie and Michelle with innocent smiles, I was certain of it.